feeling a little sick, voice might sound a little weird on the microphone. That's not what you're here for. What you're here for is the preview of The Acolyte. And The Acolyte's coming out tomorrow. Is it actually? Yes, it's actually coming out tomorrow. No one knew. No one knew that this show was coming out. I didn't know. I was on YouTube. I see pop up. I see pop up a watch party for The Acolyte. I'm like, what? What do you mean watch party for The Acolyte? And I look, oh wait, Acolyte's coming out tomorrow? Really? Who would have known? It's not like the promotions were horrible. Not in the sense that not only were the actors wrong about almost everything they said. There's one getting passed around a lot of someone keeps saying that Anakin Skywalker blew up the Death Star, and then he said that one day, and you would think that it got corrected, and then like a week later, he's like, oh, and how Anakin blew up the Death Star, and it's like, alright, you are a Star Wars actor, and like, okay, I get some Star Wars actors don't watch the prequels, because, I don't know, because Disney only likes the OT and sequel trilogy, but you don't even know what happened in A New Hope. So, I mean, do they have to watch Star Wars to be in Star Wars? I say yes. I mean, if you're not watching Star Wars to be in Star Wars, you have no commitment. It doesn't even show that you care. If you don't at least watch the movies, like, why are you here? But it could have been a mistake, but he did it twice, and he says Anakin twice. Anakin blew up the Death Star. Now, I'm not going to sit here and go on a rant about that, because that's just stupid. That's not how we should preview The Acolyte, but their whole, press tour has been weak, going around basically trashing Star Wars. Leslie Helen going around talking about, how bad George Lucas is, and then we have the actors going around saying there's not enough diversity in Star Wars, and, just, they all come with the same PR training. Same thing happened during the Obi-Wan show. Like, during the Obi-Wan show, Ewan McGregor makes a video, and he's like, to the people who are being racist to Moses Ingram, you're no Star Wars fan to me. And we're all the Star Wars fans go, what are you talking about? Who's being racist to Moses Ingram? And then you see on the article that some random person on Instagram made a disgusting comment. And okay, yes, that's bad, but we're going to sit here and then be like, oh, they said this horrible thing. That doesn't represent all Star Wars fans. Throughout like superhero films and superhero shows and just fandoms of media in general, they go, who's the worst Star Wars fans? Star Wars fans are the worst Star Wars fans because, oh, we're racist and we're sexist. Nobody is. Like, they take a small group of people. And then you see Kathleen Kennedy, I don't know if people heard about this news, there's an article out there, and Kathleen Kennedy's talking about how it must be so hard for a female fan in Star Wars, because she kind of lightly says that, like, oh, it's all male dominated, and, things can be said, and I'm paraphrasing, and then, like, the article takes that, and it's like, with all the sexism, and it's all, the male Star Wars fandom is so toxic, and all that stuff, and it's like, they're taking the smallest portion of people, like, especially the Moses Ingram situation, like, and then what they do is, if you criticize the character, like, so if I say Reva was a stupid character and shouldn't have been in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, then they go, oh, you're racist, you're sexist, because it's a black woman. That's what they say. So that's why, so they sit there and they say that so that you can't criticize a character. So if I say Rey was a horribly written character and she had the worst character arc ever, which she did, and it's really not even, people have, but to say that, like, she was a great character and her character arc was great and that, she was real perfect, and her whole ups and downs, and not that there were any downs, but to say that her character arc was good is just a lie. And then if you say you don't like it, they go, oh, you don't like women in Star Wars, you don't like that they gave the Millennium Falcon to the girl, as Freddie Prinze Jr. said. It's just a bunch of stuff so that you can't criticize the media without the content. You can't criticize the content without them coming after you, calling you some name. So, the whole, back to The Acolyte, they go around and, they lightly say, basically, Star Wars is racist, Star Wars is sexist, and Leslie Edlin, they all do this lightly, like little subtle jabs. I noticed that with The Acolyte. And they go around and they, disrespect George Lucas, disrespect Star Wars, time to move on, time to do our own thing. And like I said, the whole premise of the show is canon breaking anyways, having, Kiadi Mundi said they hadn't seen a Sith in a millennium, I think. And yeah, this whole show breaks that. And, I've been trying to, when I made a video about 2 weeks ago called The Acolyte is going to be a flop, I tried to work around it. I was like, okay, I disagree with having Sith or dark wielding, whatever. I disagree with having him in the project, but I'm like, there's a way that Leslie Headland can get around this. There's a way. I think it's just canon breaking. I think it's just stupid. Now, in almost all my videos, I've talked about the Acolyte in a couple videos. People in the comments go, just wait for the show to come out. Don't criticize before. I agree. I do agree that, we shouldn't be overly critical of a show before it's come out. But, I want to go in with an open mind. But basically, everything they've done pre-release of the show has really tanked, my respect for the show and my anticipation for the show. And also anticipation, never got to see the original trilogy in theaters, right? But, the hype around all the movies, even the sequels, originals, prequels, sequels, people show up to the movie theaters, all hype. And then you would think, does that transfer over to shows? It does transfer over to shows, The Mandalorian, like just sitting there waiting, like, I watched The Mandalorian season 1 and I'm just sitting there waiting, like I can't wait for the second season of The Mandalorian. I'm so excited. And then the same Book of Boba Fett, just sitting there going, oh, how many more days till the Book of Boba Fett comes out? And then, Clone Wars season 7 and all the Clone Wars, you're excited. Even Rebels, it's like, when's the 4th season of Rebels coming out? I'm excited for Rebels. Nobody cares about the Acolyte. No one's like, oh my god, I'm so excited for the Acolyte to come out. There's a few people on Twitter that say that, which I guess counts. They're like, oh, the Acolyte's going to be so great, but and that's their opinion, and that's fine, but I'm talking in general, no one's talking about the Acolyte. When the Obi-Wan show was coming out, they were talking about it on, like, the normal news. Like, they were talking about, like, oh, Star Wars got the Obi-Wan show. Like, it was a mainstream show. Nobody cares about the Acolyte. The whole premise is, a problem because it breaks canon. And if you really want to see how I went into that, watch the video called The Acolyte's Gonna Flop. Acolyte's gonna flop, probably, because also, like I've been talking about this whole video, nobody's gonna watch it. But, I think it's an 8-episode show. And then I also made a video going over the reviews. If you want to check that out, this is a preview, so I'm trying to set you up for the Acolyte. You might see this when this comes out, whatever. Well, after the show comes out, it's still, you can still come back to it, because I don't know, it's a 2-episode release. The reviews for the show are rough. I mean, and when I say rough, I don't mean that the reviews were negative. They're all saying the same thing, like, oh my god, we love Leslie Headland. Such a great show, oh, I love the character so much. And there was one negative review, which was really interesting, that I went over. But, all the same positive things about, this show. It's really great. It feels so much like Star Wars. It's a new, this is my favorite thing to say. They go, it feels so similar to Star Wars we got before, but it feels so different. It's doing so many different things. Yeah, I heard that same thing for Andor. And you know what? I'm sick of pretending that, like, okay, saying, Andor was, not my kind of show, and, like, kind of lightly say it because everybody loves Andor. Everybody loved that boring sleeper show. Everybody loves it. And I always kind of, like, lightly say something about how I don't like Andor, and then people in the comments are like, Andor, you don't like Andor? No, I don't like Andor. Let's make that clear just once for all my channel. I do not like the Andor show. It was a bad show. It was a boring show. The character development, everyone talks, oh, it was such good written. Not good written. The director doesn't care about Star Wars. I did not like the Andor show. And that's the same thing they were saying about the reviews of the Andor. Like, feels so Star Wars-y, but it's just so different. And that's what we're seeing for the Acolyte show. And, the trailers of the Acolyte show, I'm looking at these trailers, and, like, these fights that we see, like, the choreography, like, from the trailer already looks bad. And, like, let's not talk about the Ahsoka show fights, because the choreography on that was horrible. But it's looking rough already for the Acolyte. The Acolyte just looks like, I hate to say this because it gets said a lot, and I feel like if the more it gets said, the less value it holds by saying this, but it just seems like a fan fiction. And like I just said, I don't want to overuse saying that. I don't say it a lot. A lot of people say it a lot, but it seems like a fan fiction. So the Acolyte show is coming out tomorrow. By the time you're watching it, it might be out. And if it is out, check my channel because I will be reviewing it. And, I am very negative in this video because everything's, bad, everything before the show. But if you are watching this once the show is already out, go on my channel. I will review the episodes, honestly, open-mindedly. Tomorrow when I refresh right before I start the show, there's going to be no bias coming in even after everything Leslie Headland said and everything the cast has said about Star Wars and all the negative things they've said. I will go in completely level-headed and, give it a fair shake, and I will let you guys know the videos. Also, made a video. I have a series on this channel called The Future of Star Wars, and it's talking about 15 years after the sequel trilogy during the Rey movie. How should certain things be brought back to Star Wars? And to give an example, how should the Jedi be brought to Star Wars during the Rey movie? How should, the Republic, the government, be brought back? How should the Sith be brought back? How should the underworld of Star Wars, the crime bosses? It's a series on my channel, really interesting. I work really hard on those videos, a lot of editing, a lot of good stuff goes into it, so appreciate if you watch it. Acolyte tomorrow, not that anyone knows, but, not excited, but, I'll watch it, and I'll let you all know, and I'll give it, the most fair review. I'll really go in and just assess its quality, let everyone know, and then let's see how the fandom reacts to it. Thanks for watching the Acolyte preview. May the Force be with you, and let's hope we get some good Star Wars tomorrow.